All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Magical Herbalism Mentorship Semester 2. We have finally made it to the very end, week 4 of the Magical Herbalism Mentorship Semester 2, final mentorship. It's been such an amazing ride and journey that I've had with each and every one of you guys. And I'm so proud of you for making it this far. So, to go out with a banger, I want to teach a class that I've been kind of known for talking about the most, which is enchanting your herbs, ritualizing with your plant spirits. So, this week, we're going to jump right in and I'm going to talk about this process that we kind of know about pretty well, especially if you're someone that is into spiritual work or if you're someone that is in the African School of Magic and you're just kind of learning about how to do magic, how to create magic, how to get your magic to work for you. This process that we're going to be learning today is the most important process that you will ever use in your whole magical herbalism and spiritual work career, if we want to call it that. So let's hop right on in and we will get started. So I'm going to share my screen today and we will hop right in. So for today, we're going to be talking about ritualizing with plant spirits. Now, what I mean by this is there is an array of rituals that you and I are familiar with, whether it's a candle magic ritual, whether it's something as simple as us having our morning rituals, which is getting up every day at the same time, doing the same habits, maybe at the same time every single day, getting up at 6 a.m., praying for 15 minutes, maybe exercising, brushing our teeth, washing our face, getting in the shower, eating our breakfast, and then beginning our day. Most of us have some form of ritual that we're doing, whether it's an evening ritual, a morning ritual, a ritual that's involving others or their spiritual work, or just a ritual that you have with your own ancestors. And so, when I mean by ritualizing with plant spirits, I mean the process of creating some form of relationship with the plant spirits that you and I interact with. So, whether that is getting a plant from a plant nursery or Lowe's or Sam's Club and bringing it home and using it as a house plant, or gathering herbs of some sort to use them for your spiritual work. No matter what facet you're going to be using or what vehicle you're going to be using these plant spirits for, it's important to build relationship. It's important to have a healthy energy exchange with all life forms that you interact with, and that you utilize, because everything that we have on this earth is a living thing. Everything has some form of energy, some form of energy currency, something that we can utilize to our benefit. But this is not a selfish earth that we live on. This earth gives a lot and receives a lot. And so what we put out there is something that we get back each time. And that's something that we all know. What you give is what you get. That's in life. But this also happens when we're talking about plant spirits too. What you give to these plant spirits is what you receive back. You know, there's a scientific study that shows that when you speak positivity to your houseplants, they grow and they flourish. And when you speak negatively to your houseplants, they die because they receive the energy that you present to them and they also reflect it back to you. And so when we're utilizing these plant spirits today, or in general in life, when we're utilizing these plant spirits for our work, we have to understand that we are exchanging energy here and we are coming together and unifying our energy with another to get to a common goal, whether that common goal is something as simple as maybe money or a job, or something even more magical, which is helping a community, or healing someone that is severely sick, or helping someone get pregnant. These significant things, no matter how small or big, remind us that we are all in connection with the planet and that we are all unified in some form or fashion. And so In understanding this, you can understand how to connect with your plant spirits better to optimize your magic overall. So I want to talk about the basic enchantment process that we learn about when we are conducting spiritual work. And that is the simple matter of we have an idea of what we want our magic to be. We want to do, I always use money magic because money magic is so easy to communicate and to convey to others. And everyone wants money, whether you are rich or poor, everyone wants money. You have to use money in this lifetime. And so let's say we're creating a spell of some sort or magic that involves in curating an abundance of money or a promotion of some sort at our job. The process that we go about creating this sort of spell is we usually decide that we're going to use a candle or lamp of some sort, and then we go about choosing our herbs. So I'm going to choose a green candle because green signifies money. Um, and I'm going to use a candle to curate this abundance portal for myself to get more money. Now, the next step is getting herbs. So, usually we have an idea of what herbs we want to use. Oh, I'm going to use mint, cinnamon, and olive oil, for example. I choose these herbs, I divine over them to be sure that they are acceptable, that my ancestors agree that I should be using these herbs. And then I go about choosing the intentions. Now, normally people will fuck up just right there because normally, if you're like a Facebook witch or you're not necessarily properly informed, then you'll usually just choose herbs, pick an intention, and then go about your business with the magic. Most people already mess up step one, which is choosing your herbs and then divining over them. That right there is extraordinarily important because you need to know if the formulation of your herbs that you are choosing is acceptable for your ancestors. Now, if you have advanced further into your spiritual journey and you've been able to heighten your spiritual gifts, then you may not need to divine over your herbs because you can hear them, or you may have the gift of clairaudience where you can hear your ancestors. And so, if you are advanced and you have that gift and you're very skillful in that gift, you may not need to divine over your herbs. But if you are the novice, if you are the newbie into this magical herbalism life or this magician lifestyle, and you don't necessarily have a relationship with your ancestors, or you're just beginning your spiritual journey and you're just trying to figure things out, it is always better to divine with everything that you do, whether it's this spell work that you're creating as an example, or if you're trying to make a major decision in your life. Utilizing divination to communicate with your ancestors to help you along the way is extraordinarily helpful, and it helps you not make any pitfalls or make any major mistakes that you'll end up having to rectify later. So the normal enchantment process that we're familiar with is choosing your herbs, divining over them to see if they're acceptable, then opening up your magical correspondence book and picking what intentions you want to use for your herbs. Usually after that, you pray over them, and ask um, what what um, what the herb is capable of doing. You usually will tell the herb, like, you pray over it and you ask the herb to help open the doors for abundance to flow through. Um, you may ask the herb to help you secure the job that you want, or help you receive the raise that you've been working so hard for. After you prayed over the herb, utilizing the PRAY method by Priscilla Shire. Shire, is that how you say her last name? Um, that is the method that we use at the African School of Magic. After you have prayed over your herbs, you then pay them utilizing alcohol or tobacco smoke. This is the basic enchantment process that you will learn about and hear about, especially if you're at the African School of Magic and you're being mentored and guided by some of the best priests and priestesses that we have around. This is usually the structure that they will give you. And this structure is extraordinarily effective. And it's really important that you learn this basic structure when you're first coming into these new traditions and you're trying to conduct proper magic. Utilizing this protocol will really garner you the results that you're looking for. And so what that looks like, I want to kind of show you guys pictures of what this looks like in real time. And these pictures that I have here today are things that I have done. This is all my work here. And that's to give you guys sort of an idea of what this looks like and feels like, and kind of like the energy that it exudes when you're doing this in real time, which is that of discipline, that of structure, and that of focus. And so this is what it normally looks like. You go out, you decide you want to do some work, and usually you choose like your candle of choice with the color. You choose like what products you're going to be making. I think for this one, I was creating a spiritual package for a client. And so I was going to be creating a magical spray as well as a magical bath. And so you usually when you decide that you want to create a spell of some sort, you go out, you go to the grocery store, and you pick your herbs. You may get fresh herbs, you may get dried herbs. I have a combination or culmination of fresh, which is all of these up here, dried, which is herbs over here, as well as utilizing essential oils, which is that down here. And so you usually go out, you pick your supplies, and then you may open up your magical correspondence book that's been recommended to you, and you choose the intentions that you want to use for your work. And then you do your thing. You say, like, okay, Rose, make this man fall in love with me. Thank you. And then you throw it in, throw it in the candle. Right. And if you're utilizing the enchantment process that I just went over, doing that method and doing this method works. It's very effective. There's nothing wrong with this method. And if you haven't mastered that method, if you don't know that you need to pray over your herbs, if you don't know how to pray, then you will need to learn. And how you learn how to pray is first reading this book by Priscilla Shirer called Fervent. This book is going to teach you about the PRAY method, which is praise, repent, ask, and yes. And this is how we pray at the African School of Magic, utilizing this method. And utilizing this method will help you learn how to enchant your herbs through prayer, and even learn how to pray to your ancestors utilizing this method. And so, if you do this enchantment process correctly, which is choosing your herbs, divining over them, utilizing your magical correspondence book and picking out what intentions you want, and then praying over them, utilizing the Priscilla Shirer PRAY method, and then paying it with tobacco smoke or alcohol. So either you spray it on there, or maybe you just drip a little bit of alcohol on your herbs. Utilizing these methods will garner you extraordinarily great results. Now, if you want to sharpen your skill sets and you want to develop an even better enchantment process, and you want to make this enchantment process your own, I'm going to show you guys my enchantment process that I have been known for telling the world how long it is. But this method that I'm going to be sharing with you all today that I use to enchant my work has been a game changer. It's what makes my work so powerful. It's what, separates my work from others. And I'm going to share how long this process is, not so you can be like, oh my God, girl, that shit is just too much, but so that you can see everything that I do and that you can choose from my enchantment process what works for you. You can choose maybe how I do my step 1 and step 2 may be different from how you've been normally doing your step 1 and step 2, and you can incorporate that into your own. Maybe my steps here are longer And maybe you want to use my step 9 and incorporate that into your 4-step enchantment process. Um, it's totally up to you and what you want to do for your work and how you want to up level your work today. And so the normal enchantment process is 4 steps, as we can see here. Very, very simple. My enchantment process is 10 steps. So out of my 10 steps, you can choose what works best for you and make your enchantment process magical. And so we're going to go over the Garden Goddess's enchantment process. So when I am creating a magical working, whether it's for me, whether it's for someone that I love, or if it's for a client, one of the first things I decide to do when I accept the fact that I'm going to do magical work is I meditate. And this is because one, I want to clear my energetic biofield, meaning clear my aura. I want to get out any sort of biases that I have in the process, especially when it comes to clients. After I've done a reading and I have accepted that I'm going to do spiritual work, because some readings I don't, when I'm doing for clients, some people don't need spiritual work even if they want spiritual work, and then some clients need spiritual work. And so once that is concluded and I figure out if spiritual work is needed, I go into deep meditation. And that is so I can clear up my biofield from any energies from like the reading. I can clear out the clients' ancestors' energy from off of me. I clear out even my own energy. And I use that time to listen to my ancestors and listen to my Loa, or spirits that walk with me. And I also am able to hear the plants speak to me during meditation. And so when I go into meditation, I use that to kind of have a meeting, if you will, with my spirits so that I can hear what is the best route to take in this work. And usually, excuse me, it takes about 15 minutes. I sit in a quiet space and then I just go quiet within myself and I just listen. I explain to them the situation, why I'm there, and I listen and I hear my uh, my team really come together. It's like a boardroom. It's like a boardroom meeting. They come together. They have discussion with each other and they decide what is going to occur, what kind of magic I'm going to be doing. It's going to be something major, such as a huge spiritual package, like the picture I just showed you guys, where I'm gathering a whole bunch of herbs because I'm going to be using all of that for maybe a month long or 2 month long spiritual package that I'm going to send. Or if it's something very minor, which is just sending maybe a spiritual bath. So that meditation happens for about 15 minutes so that I can clear out my field and hear um, what steps to take and have that guidance. And just having this step in my enchantment process has made the process of creating spiritual work so easy because I'm not making work based off of what I think someone needs, but what I actually know, what I can intuitively feel that the client needs, or if it's a family or friend. The next step I do is I go to a plant nursery. And this is because I prefer to work with plants that have been birthed and nurtured in a very loving environment. Plant nurseries are known to have the best quality plants because these people that work at these facilities, especially where I'm at in California, they own these facilities. And so they dedicated their lives to plants and having plant businesses and taking care of plants and loving plants and nurturing plants. And so usually those that work at plant nurseries are plant experts and they're very much so aware of how to take care of a plant and how to speak the language that the plant understands the best. Even if they're not someone that's into spirituality per se, they have the innate gift of being able to communicate with plants through their energy. And so usually I work with fresh plants. I love the energy. I think the energy is that much more potent, to be honest, when I'm working with fresh plants. The energy is just a lot more alive and invigorating versus dealing with dried plants or plants in essential oil form, that doesn't mean that you utilizing dried plants or plants through essential oils makes your magic any less significant. This is solely based off of personal preference. And so I usually go to a plant nursery to pick out my plant spirits. Um, Sometimes I actually buy the plant itself, and I'll show you that example. So like in this one, I've gone to the grocery store and purchased fresh flowers. I've gone to the grocery store and purchased the herbs in the box. And then I've gone to plant nurseries right here, which is, I think this is rosemary, fresh rosemary. And I've just purchased the plant and planted it in my garden so I can use it later. But as you can see here, just in my example, I've used every form that you can think of, the dried version, the fresh version, and then the essential oil version. And it didn't make a difference. It's just what I prefer and the energy that I like to feel when I'm working with the spirits. And so, yeah, I usually go to the plant nursery, pick out my spirits. And the process of picking out the plant spirits is a lot of fun for me because I have the gift of hearing plants. And so, usually, when I go to these nurseries, I can hear the plants and I can hear them talking to me and communicating with me. And this is the process of me picking out what herbs I'm going to use in my work. Usually, my step one when I'm meditating, I hear what work needs to be done. Um, but normally, it's when I go to the nurseries that I hear what herbs want to participate in the work. Um, I set an intention, I communicate to the herbs that this is what I'm doing right now, this is what I would like to do. And then the herbs usually showcase themselves. Maybe one has caught my eye for whatever reason while I'm at the plant nursery, and it's for some reason there's something about it that I just can't get enough of, or that I just think it's so beautiful, or something about it is just I just can't stop looking at it. That's letting me know that this herb wants to participate or wants to be a part of my plant home, if you will. So the process of me going to these nurseries is the process of me choosing what herbs I'm going to use for this work. Then once I've chosen these plants, I return home and I wash them to wash off all the pesticides or any other energies that may have been on it from people touching them of some sort. I rinse them off and I welcome them into my space. So I treat plant spirits like I do human beings, where if you come over, I become I like to think, a great hostess, where I'm like, welcome to my home. Here's some music, here's some food, here's some good vibes. Can I get you water? Can I get you something to eat, something to drink? I do the same thing with my plant spirits. Once I bring them home, I welcome them into the space with positive affirmations, with loving affirmations. Welcome to my space. I hope you're able to make use of your time here. I hope you're able to learn any lessons that you need to learn here. I hope you're able to teach whatever it is that you need to teach to me. Um, Also, I don't know what happened to my little thing, but anyway, so I bring them into the space. I celebrate them just like I do people. I play good music, set a good vibe. I usually will play music that corresponds with what it is that I'm trying to do with them for the day. So, whether that's doing money magic, whether it's doing love magic, usually when I bring these plant spirits home, I make the intention that I'm going to be playing music and set the vibration of what I want these herbs to be operating at for me. And so, as you can see, this whole time, everything that I'm doing with these plants, everything is intentional. And so, that's why my treatment process, it feels like I'm just going out and just gathering items like anyone would for their enchantment process. But my enchantment process is actually very intentional with everything that I do, which is why I say my enchantment process takes a day, because my whole day is dedicated towards choosing the right plants and setting a high vibration and setting a high level of standard that I want these herbs to operate in. And so I dedicate all of my energy into this process of welcoming these spirits into my space. and of encouraging these spirits to open up their energetic field to want to work with me and to feel comfortable enough to exchange this energy that we're having for this overall work. And so I celebrate them like I do human beings, and I welcome them into my space by utilizing music, by utilizing scent, by utilizing positive affirmation and enriching them and making them feel comfortable in this new setting. Once that is done, then I gather them together and I divine over them to see if there's any significant messages that they have for me during this time. Is if there's anything that I need to know about them, if there's any qualities about them that I may not know, what their personality is like, how are they going to be operating with me in particular. And this process can take a few minutes for each herb, depending on how many herbs that I use. And then finally, once I have exchanged a bit of communication with them in that way, I meditate to receive any further messages. Usually in that, I'm able to hear them more even clearer than I already have been, but I'm able to take time to really get to know these herbs through meditation. And then step 6, which is now we're getting into like the meat and potatoes of enchanting. This is when I get out my working altar, which is what we call it. And a working altar is simply a space that you use to do your spiritual work. And so some people, they may do spiritual work on their ancestral altar. I don't agree with placing your work on your ancestral altar, because your ancestral altar is just dedicated to your ancestors. To me, and I feel like that space should be sacred and kept solely towards you and your ancestors. I don't really do much on my ancestral altar. Anything that's for me and my stuff, I place on my working altar. It's just like having a home and you have different rooms designated for different things. You don't do all of your work in the family room or living room. If you have the means, um, then you'll do it at your place of work. You'll be able to work at your place of work, or maybe you have some sort of office. I just noticed that my step 6, I'm missing a step 7, and I'm going to tell you what my step 7 is, since I wasn't able to put it in my PowerPoint. And so now that we're getting into the meat and potatoes of my enchantment process, I finally decide where I'm going to place my herbs, if you will. So I decide what sort of bowl or plate I'm going to enchant my herbs in. I usually like to work with high quality items when I'm doing any sort of spiritual work. And so what I do is, after I've gone through this process of getting to know my herbs, of picking them up from the store, of exchanging that sort of energy, setting the tone for like our work together and our time together. Now I'm getting ready to actually do real spiritual work. I gather out my working altar. And my working altar, I'm going to show you in another slide. It's a large green prayer rug, and a prayer rug that you will noticeably know about, and that most people that utilize a prayer rug are those of the Islamic faith. And so if you have any sort of Muslim friends or those that are practicing Islam, they normally have a rug that they utilize for prayer, for their time of prayer. That is normally, I believe, 3 to 5 times a day that they pray, facing, I believe it's Mecca. And so I have a similar rug that I use to pray. I have many rugs, actually. I have a rug for prayer that I have for my ancestors, and then I have a rug that I have turned into my working altar. And so once I have chosen what bowls my herbs are going to be in, which are normally white bowls or fine china, I love working with fine china because for me, ancestrally, fine china has represented welcoming very royal people into the space, or people that you see as someone of high value. You bring out the fine china, or you bring out fine china during celebration, great celebration during the holidays or birthdays or any sort of significant time in your life. Maybe you're getting married, we bring out the fine china. And so when I'm doing ancestral work, I like to bring out the fine china because that represents, I see these herbs and I see this work very highly, and I value it very much. And so I love working with fine china. And so once I have gathered my fine china, I bring out water in a white candle. And that represents the water that I bring out for each herb, because it's not just one water cup, it's normally multiple water cups for the herbs that I'm working with. So if I have 3 herbs that I'm working with for this work, then I'm going to bring out 3 cups of water for each herb. I will gift them the water as an offering. And I will use a white candle. Now, the white candle, I light it after I pray over each herb, and I'm going to show you in another photo of what that looks like. The white candle, I use that for communication. So while I'm going through the process of enchanting my herbs, I'm looking at the candle to see how it is communicating with me. And so this is another method of divination, by the way, which is called candle divination. And so if you don't know how to read candles, then you might not understand. But I'm able to see how the herb is operating in real time utilizing the candle. And I'm able to read the herb in real time utilizing the flame of the candle. So I know if it feels comfortable, if it's requiring more payment, if it needs more attention, if something has come up in the energetic field while we are working and it needs to notify me of what's going on, I use the white candle for that. And so step 7 was going to be me introducing a working altar to you all. Oh, what is going on here? Anyway, step 7 is going to be me introducing a working altar to you all, which is the prayer rugs. And you can get prayer rugs off of Amazon. So after I have my white candle and my water, I roll out my prayer rug because I don't have it out all the time, only when I'm doing work. I roll out my prayer rug, which is step 7. And my prayer rug, the color of it is based off of what spirits I'm working with. So I am an earth stewardess. So I work with a lot of earth energies. And so when you see me working with these energies, normally I'm working with the color green. Now, if you're someone that's utilizing your ancestors, then you are going to be using like the color white in your work. That's always the safest color, and that's the color of the ancestors. Once that is done, once I have my working altar rolled out and my herbs are sitting on my working altar in their bowls, they've been given their white candle, they've been given their offering of water, I then go into the process of praying over them. So I look over my magical correspondence book. I pick what intentions I want to use for each herb. I write it down. I write on a separate sheet of paper of what I want to utilize of each herb, whether it's gender, whether it's color, whether it's direction, whether it's the individual power that each one possesses. I will decide from there and I will write it down. And then, excuse me, I'll begin praying over them utilizing the PRAY method. Once I've prayed over them, I've been asking them, I ask them what I want to do. I praise them for being who they are naturally, their God-given gifts. I repent any negative energy that may try to infiltrate this time that we have together. I ask them to assist me in this work, and I ask how to assist me in this work. So, for example, if I'm utilizing Rose, I ask Rose to assist me by opening up the doors for a good relationship to flow in. During the A aspect of the PRAY method, that is when I'm utilizing the natural intentions that it already has. So when we open up the magical correspondence book, we can see that there's a huge paragraph under every herb that tells you what powers it possesses. Well, I utilize the A in the PRAY method, and I use that time to ask it to use those intentions in this work, utilizing maybe their individual gifts, their spirit, not their gifts, their spirits. I ask them to utilize their individual essences, their individual gifts, their individual spiritual powers in that A portion of the PRAY method. And then the why is yes. The why is affirming that this work can be done. And so I end it after I've asked them to do whatever it is that I want for them to do for me. I affirm them and I thank them for the work that is about to be done. And I seal it with a scripture. My favorite scripture that you will always hear me talk about is Psalms 19, which discusses heavenly blessings. And it always usually ends with, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength, my redeemer. I say that whole, I think it's like 18 scriptures in Psalms 19, and I use all 18. And I pray, I use the PRAY method. Some people, they pray over all of their herbs, but for me, I pray individually. Every single herb gets their own individual prayer, and I use the PRAY method for each individual prayer. And once that is done, I get the herb that's already in its bowl, and I present it to the four directions. And the four directions, as we can remember from previous classes, garners a lot of power. It's a great way to enchant your herbs because you're asking for each individual direction to power this herb. It's where the four directions are where their physical realm and the spiritual realm meet. And so I'm opening up that portal when I am presenting my herb to the four directions. And I'm opening up a portal for the spirit to really flow through and manifest into the physical realm for me. After that is done, I pay the herbs utilizing alcohol or tobacco smoke. And so as this is occurring, after I've done all this work, I lay the herb back down in its bowl and I just let it sit. And this is where the candle comes into play, because once I'm looking at the candle, I can see the flame is moving around, right? As I'm enchanting each herb, the flames are interacting with each other, which lets me know that the energy that the herbs are having, they're exchanging this energy with one another. They're communicating with one another. And so when I'm done enchanting, I allow these herbs to exchange energy. I allow these herbs to have that time to communicate and come together for this common goal of spiritual work. So I let the herbs communicate with each other, and I see the candles moving and I see them interacting with one another. And once the candles stop, once the flame is really, really still, or sometimes I wait for the flame to go out because I use tea light candles, by the way. When I'm talking about white candles, I'm usually utilizing tea light candles because the lifespan of a tea light candle is not that long, but it's long enough to get something done. So I use tea light candles, and sometimes I wait for the flame to be still, or I'll wait for the flame to go out completely. And then I use these herbs in my spiritual work. So this process, this 10-step process that I'm sharing with you all today, that can take about a day, 8 hours, easy. And that's because I take my time in this 10-step process. But your process does not have to be 10 steps. It could have been these 4 steps, and that would have been fine. But for me, on my spiritual journey, I have found that this is the method that I am meant to use, and that works the best for me, and it helps me strengthen the gifts that I already have, and it helps me develop deep relationships with these plant spirits, and it opens me up to more opportunity to engage in different spirits in the plant kingdom by doing these types of steps. So this is my ritual. This is what I do, and I hope that that you're able to at least try it out once, or if not once, you're able to look at one of the steps that I use, and maybe you can use it for yourself in your process. And so this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying I have a working altar. As we can see here, this is one of my prayer rugs. I have quite a few that I'm utilizing. Each herb is placed in their own individual bowl. In this particular working, I did a white bowl instead of fine china. Um, this is the fine china that I'm referring to. This is a very old school fine china plate. And so what I've done here is I've gathered each herb. These are dried, by the way. So now you can see that some of these are fresh, some of these are dried that I use. Um, each of them are in their own separate bowls, so they have their own space. I've incorporated fine china. I've gifted them all an offering of water. They all each individually have their own water cup. And as we can see here, I'm utilizing this flame to see how the herbs are communicating with me. I'm utilizing a divination method. So I'm divining as I'm doing work. Sometimes when you're in a ritual, you'll be told you need to divine before a ritual, during a ritual, and after ritual. And this is so you're able to see how you're progressing in real time. But for me, because I have the ability to do candle divinations, I'm able to divine as I'm going. I'm constantly doing a divination as I'm doing this work. So that's why I'm utilizing the candles. For you, you may not have that skill set yet. So just after maybe every like couple of steps that you've done, maybe you can divine over it and see if you're doing okay, or if there needs to be any last minute changes. Once once that's done, then you can move forward. So as you can see here, each individual herb has its own candle, and I'm divining in real time as this is occurring, and you can see them moving around. I think this one's moving more towards the right, this one's moving more towards the left, and this one's becoming more centered and calm. And so I'm able to see them exchanging energy in real time. And normally what I love to do is I wait for the tea light candle to go out. That's like my timer. It's kind of like when you're baking and you're waiting for the timer to go off to let you know that the oven is ready for your stuff to be cooking, or that sometimes you have a timer to let you know like the 15 minutes is up for your stuff that's cooking already, so you need to take it out the oven. I use this as like my real life timer. So I'm using it as a divination tool and a timer, so I know when all of these are out, when all of these candles go out, the work is ready to be done, or the work is ready to, or the herbs, excuse me, are ready to be used. And so one thing I also wanted to tell you that I do is I don't light these immediately. I usually pray over my herbs, I pay my herbs, and then I light it. So I don't light these all at the same time. I usually light them individually. So after I'm done enchanting one herb, I light the candle, then move on to the next. Then I enchant this herb, I light my candle, then I move on to the next one. And so these tea light candles can then last about an hour to 2 hours. And this gives me time to just kind of do whatever else I need to do for the day. So after I've gone through that long enchantment process and then I've lit my candles, now they're exchanging energy, that gives me a break. So I usually just sit back and I'm like, okay, I can go eat something. I can go eat something. I can maybe like talk to a loved one right quick as these energies are getting to know one another and exchanging energy. Um, and then once it's done, then I can finish my spiritual work after these energies are ready to go. So another thing I wanted to point out to you all is my offering, my form of payment. And so I have two forms of payment. One, which is my water, which is an offering I'm giving to the herb, which is something you don't have to do, but this is something that I do. And then my next offering is tobacco smoke. My favorite, this is one of my favorite offerings to give to herbs. It's something about the smoke that is just um, really invigorating for herbs, especially the herbs that I work with. They really love tobacco smoke. Um, if you're someone that cannot handle having smoke in your space for whatever reason, maybe you have asthma, maybe you live with someone that cannot have smoke in the facility or in the space that you're in, then utilizing alcohol is a great alternative. Um, and you can just spray it. Some people pour just a little bit of alcohol in their work, or you can just get a spray bottle and you can spray a couple spritz on your herbs, and that's a great form of payment. Another thing I wanted to point out to you all is that um, your working altar does not have to be the same. Some spiritual work that you do is going to be messier than others. So as you can see here, this is another working altar that I have, but it's not even a mat, it's a towel. Because the work that I was doing, I was cutting up plants in real time. Like I was getting like a huge like knife and I was like chopping up this, it was a mess. I was chopping up a plant that I had literally chopped off of a tree. And so I didn't want to mess up my prayer rugs, and so I had a cutting board in this instance, um, and I needed something that was going to be easier to clean up and not damage these really high quality rugs. As you can see here, they're really detailed and they're really beautiful. So I decided to use a towel. I just got a huge towel, prayed over my towel, and then I did my work on there. And as you can see here, I did the same thing. I had bowls instead of fine china. I used a candle. This is my cigar smoke for payment, and this is my grimoire that I was using in real time to enchant my herbs. And this particular work was a spiritual bath and a holy water spray, I believe. And as you can see the candle, the tea light candle that I used in that. And so that's another method. I kind of really want to let you all know that your working altar is for work. It's for you on the move. And so you're not always going to have a working altar that is going to be out like your ancestral altar. There's going to be working altars that you can wrap up and kind of place off to the side and just use it when you need it. You can have working altars to go that are in like small boxes that you can just take with you when you travel, or you can call those traveling altars. And so my working altar is just a space for me to do spiritual work and nothing more. And so it's constantly changing. It's constantly looking different. This obviously looks more organized than this one. It just depends on what's going on. And so working altars are very, very flexible. And so it doesn't have to have one look. And I also want to let you all know that I like to work on the ground. I like to work on the floor. And so you'll see that a lot of my work, I'm doing it on the ground. But you don't have to work on the ground like I do. You can work on a table. Your working altar can be a designated space in your home that you just do for your spiritual work. Whatever works best for you is the method that you should go with. And so I also want to show you guys what it looks like when you are in your enchantment process, and you're searching for intentions to give to your herbs. I usually will open up my complete book of correspondences, and I'll decide what intentions I want to use for each herb. And then I write it down. And this makes it easy so I know what to tell my herb, what to tell my herb to do for me. Um, so in this particular example, I was doing work to help someone be more responsible. So I opened up my complete book of correspondences, And I wrote down what I wanted this chamomile to do for this work. I wrote down I needed it to have Cancer energy. I needed it to take on the day Monday. This is the day that I actually was doing this work on a Monday. And so I had to remind myself that Monday governs the planet, the moon, basically. Monday governs the moon. And so it's a highly sensitive planet. And that's the exact energy I wanted to use for this work. I wrote down what element I wanted to use for this work. I wrote down what chakra I wanted it to target for this work. And then I wrote down all the intentions I wanted it to have for this work. And so as I was praying, and I got to the A part of the PRAY method, I was able to look at this list that I wrote down. And during the A section of the PRAY method, I went through that list. I said, chamomile, please take on the energy of Cancer and be sensitive like the moon so that this can be effective work and so that it can penetrate my client in this way and that way. Chamomile, please utilize your energy to help heal his throat chakra so he's able to be more mindful of what he says to other people so that he can communicate properly. Chamomile, utilize your water energy to bring about a calming of emotions in this work today. Bring about your Cancerian energy to ground him in his spiritual principles of responsibility. Utilize your energy of the throat chakra and help heal his throat chakra so he can be mindful in his communication so that he's aware of when he is gossiping too much about other people. During the A part of the PRAY method is when I use this. And I do this for each herb. And that is what helps you become more precise in your enchantment process. This is what helps you give your herbs clear direction because they know exactly what it is that you need for your magic. So that once it goes in the candle, so that once it goes in the lamp, it's more than prepared to do the work. It knows exactly what it needs to do and it's willing to do it because you took care of it, because you paid it the amount that it needed to be paid, and because you gave it clear direction. That is how magic works effectively and fastly because it knows exactly what it needs to do. I also want to show you what that looks like in real time. Sometimes I have my list, and then other times I'm utilizing my grimoire. As you can see here, this is one of my grimoires. This is my divination tool. These are my tarot cards. Sometimes I'm utilizing methods I've seen in a book. This is Spirit of a Man by 𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒔. And other times, if I don't have a verse, a particular Psalms verse I want to utilize in my work, then I open up one of my book of Psalms and I will choose a scripture in real time to enchant my work. And so it can look as organized or as messy as you want. And once again, this is my working altar. This is my prayer rug that I utilize in my work. And so I just kind of wanted to show you all what this kind of looks like as you're doing it. Sometimes it looks really, really clean. Sometimes it looks kind of messy. But I wanted to give you all that experience of what it feels like and what the outcomes normally look like as you're doing it, especially if you're a visual person like I am. Sometimes hearing what we do isn't as helpful rather than seeing what it is that we're doing. So I want to give you all additional information that I utilize within my enchantment process that you can use. One of those being I play music. I play music as I'm doing spiritual work. It helps me get into the vibration of what it is that I want to feel and what it is I want to communicate and what it is that I want to create for myself in this work. Sometimes I conduct work at a specific time of the day. So this is going back to our universal numbers class, where I tell you guys the significance in each number that you have, or each number that exists that we have in this lifetime. And so sometimes I utilize the power of numbers, and I utilize that by choosing the amount of herbs I'm going to use for this work, or I utilize the power of numbers by choosing a specific time to do this work, whether it's in the daytime or nighttime. And that's another way you can utilize magical numbers. Another thing I do is I face a specific direction during this enchantment process, and that goes back to our our first class this semester, which was the class on divine direction. Sometimes while I'm enchanting this work and they're in on their prayer mat, specifically, I utilize direction once the herbs get to the working altar. I will make the altar face a specific direction. And so that's around like step 6, step 7 for me is when I utilize direction. So you can face a specific direction when you are utilizing um, a working altar, or when you're just enchanting your herbs, you can face specific directions, and you can change what direction that you are in as you're enchanting. Maybe you want your rosemary to face west, so you or utilize the power of west, so you'll face west while you're enchanting rosemary. Maybe you will face east if you're enchanting maybe rose and you're trying to garner the power from east. Changing directions as you're enchanting your herbs is something you can do as well. And finally, I like to incorporate taste into my work so that I can embody the energy that I'm creating. If I'm doing love work, I want to taste something sweet so that I not only am able to create what it is that I want, but I'm able to feel into what it is that I want. It helps bring my body into that vibration as well. So now it's your turn. You've heard my method and how I enchant herbs and how I enchant my plants. You've seen the basic and normal way to enchant your herbs and have a enchantment process. Now I want to see what it is that you create. I want to see what it is that you can produce. And so your homework today is to create your own enchantment process. Let me actually stop sharing my screen so I can talk to y'all. Let's talk. Your homework today is to create your own enchantment process. You can go and use the blueprint of the 4-step enchantment process if you don't have one. Utilize the blueprint and see how it works for you. And then when you're ready to add on to it, then you can use a couple steps from my enchantment process. You can try my enchantment process if you want to. Good luck, it's long. You're gonna be tired, but it's worth it. So your homework today is to create an enchantment process. You can use the blueprint, which is the first enchantment process that I have presented to you all. See how that feels. And if you want to be more flexible, if you want to change things up, you can use a couple of the steps that I have from my enchantment process, and you can let me know how that works for you. So that is your homework today. Create an enchantment process, present it to us in the group chat, and let us see what you came up with. And that is class. So I'm so proud of you all for making it this far. I'm so happy that you all have been able to participate in the Magical Herbalism Mentorship. It has been such a pleasure to work with each and every one of you all. I am grateful to have been your teacher and guidance counselor for this semester. It is my prayer that you continue to move forward and you continue to thrive and you continue to follow your path to purpose and passion and fulfillment. I am here. I'm always going to be here. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. So thank you for participating in this semester, and I hope to see you soon, maybe in the next one. Have a good one. I love you dearly and timelessly. See you later.